Oh, so we're live now. I have made you host. Make me back co-host, and then we're all set.
Hey, thank you, Michael.
No problem.
Hi, Susan.
Start video. Oh, there's only 3 of us,
Oh, that's
but I
great.
can't hear her. You are muted. No, I'm not. Mute my auto. This is stupid.
Hi, Susan.
I'm not muted, but it's saying I'm muted.
I can hear you.
Oh, here you go. I don't know if I'm hearing her. I got a picture.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Who, me?
This is Deb. I'm the guy. Yes.
Okay, I'll talk to you later. Bye. I don't know. Are you hearing me?
I can hear you.
Oh, sorry. I just heard about you guys today, so I didn't quite know how to get onto this thing.
Well, you did beautifully. Here you are. So thanks for coming.
Where exactly are you?
I'm personally in York, Pennsylvania, but we are all over the place. We are all
I know you are. I'm in, we heard about it from our Provost group.
From what group?
Provost, have you heard of Provost?
No, I have not.
It's sort of like the Legion. It's for retired and semi-retired group people.
Okay.
And believe it or not, I'm in a suburb of Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Nice. Okay. So it's nice to have somebody from Toronto here.
And I just figured out how to do the picture thing on the back, the San Francisco.
Yeah, very nice. I was going to ask if you were from San Francisco, but I can't see you. Just so you know, I can't see you.
Why am I? You want to see me? I haven't got my camera on.
I would love to see you.
I look terrible. I look really bad. There we go. Because in Ontario, I'm in a suburb of Toronto. We've been in lockdown since November. So put this down.
Well,
we are in lockdown. Long hair used to be short.
Yeah. Well, this is a good place to show up and have some social time. And Jean has just joined us. Hi, Jean.
Pender.
Hi, Jean. Do you want to? Are you there? Can you hear us?
There we go. Maybe she's like me and she's trying to figure out how to work this thing.
I guess Jean doesn't have any mic because I'm not seeing any option to unmute her.
Yeah, I don't see anything there, so I'm not sure what's happening.
Who's the male voice I just heard?
So this is Michael. Welcome, Michael. He's our assistant, and so he checks the chat, and he also makes sure that all the things that need to be working are working. So you can see he's typing some things in chat right now. So I'm really glad that you found us, Susan, and that you joined.
Well, I didn't. I belong to this group. We've been in lockdown for over a year, and they sent out some stuff today talking about these free classes. Okay. And I thought, what? There's one today? I don't want to do that tonight. But oh well.
Well, yeah. I'll give you some dinner ideas.
Okay. As I said, we've been in, I don't know if you hear anything from Canada, but we're not doing very great with our vaccinations. We don't have enough.
I see. So you haven't had a vaccination yet?
I've had one, and we have to wait 4 months to get the second, which is not recommended. We have 4 different vaccines going on right now in Canada. And yeah.
Yeah, it's a little confusing, isn't it? There's
Well, you
Carol.
guys are doing better. Hmm?
Yeah, we're doing pretty well. Depends on the state. Hey, Carol. Good to see you again. I haven't seen you for a little while.
Oh,
Nice to have you back.
thank
Meet
you.
Susan. She's just joining Get Set Up for the first time ever today. So
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I don't know how the person in charge of our activities found you guys. But she also recommended something called Go Boomerang.
Hmm.
Sounds like the
think I-
competition.
I don't.
Well,
I've heard-
as I said, I'm in Canada and Ontario around Toronto, and we've been in lockdown for 6 months. So we're getting all pretty bored here.
You're going to love this. You're going to love it.
Well, I hope
I
you
hate cooking, but I like cream soups.
Well, I hope you enjoy tonight's class. Anyway, I have a lot of options to show you, and I'm actually going to make a soup today, this evening. So I've made a different one off of this rotation or these recipes that I present to you each time. So I'm making a different one this evening, and so we'll just see how it goes. And you have a very personalized class. So because there's only a few of you, and I don't know about Jean. Jean, are you here? We haven't been able to communicate with Jean yet, but Jean is possibly here listening, and we are on live stream. So I'm going to share my screen. Susan, what we have on our website is a live stream that folks can join in and watch what's happening, but they don't actually register for the class. So that's another option. But we always like to have people come and register because we really learn from each other, and we like the conversations that happen. Not everybody likes to just learn things from YouTube. Like to come and learn through a conversation with others. So by now you should see my cream and blended soups screen, right? And just a few things to get us started. Since you haven't been here before, Susan, I'm a guide, and that's what we call ourselves when we teach these classes. I'm from York, Pennsylvania, and I am a person who worked in business all my life. I was a psychology and adult and organizational development person back in the day, and I did a lot of training and did a lot of coaching, leadership coaching, and now I'm doing teaching here at Get Set Up in the area of food, cooking, and nutrition. So I like it a lot, and I like meeting all of you. And what we're all about here at Get Set Up, since you are brand new, is about learning together. So ideally, we learn best when we have cameras on and when we can see you, and love it when you are talking on microphone. That's fine. We like that. The only thing I would ask is that when you're not speaking, you mute yourself, just because we sometimes get background noise. And then especially that's a problem, can be a problem if we have a large group, because we don't know where the noise is coming from. So that's just a point. We do always send emails out after you register for a class and come. And that email is going to have all the recipes that I share with you today. So you want to look for that email. And if you don't receive it, the help@getsetup.io address is very important for any kind of issue, whether you don't receive the email or whether you're having questions about registering or problems with tech, anything like that. They are very responsive, and we like to make sure that our learners are taken care of. And as I mentioned, we're doing this by live stream. So I always like to say hi to everybody who might be out there in live stream and invite you to join us and be part of a class. And Susan, you should know, I know Carol already knows this, that Get Set Up doesn't have a financial relationship with any of the companies that where we show their products or services, or any of the websites that we might show you. So no financial relationship there. So today, what are we going to talk about? Well, I do a series on soups, and I start with a soups from scratch class that teaches you how to make broths and stocks, how to really lay a flavor foundation if you want to make soups. And then I teach one on bean soups and chowders, and now this one is on cream soups and pureed soups. And later this spring or summer, we'll do one on chilled soups. So we're going to talk about the difference between a cream soup and a pureed or a blended soup. And then look at some recipes for making a cream soup and making a blended soup. So you said that you like cream soups. Do you have some favorites?
Okay, no, I like tomato, vegetables.
Okay.
I don't like fish, so.
Okay, so maybe the chowder isn't for you, but that's a fish
No.
chowder. There's other kinds of chowders too. How about you, Carol? Do you have favorite cream soup?
I like tomato for sure. And then potato,
Potato.
broccoli,
Mhm.
Hmm. I have. Do you
all
like,
of them really.
yeah, I know. Never met a soup you didn't like, huh?
Right.
You like Panera's broccoli soup, cream of broccoli soup?
I've never had it.
Okay, I know that's one that people say when they come to class. Oh, I really want to be able to make a soup like Panera makes, a cream of broccoli.
Oh,
So anyway, so a cream soup is a soup that is made, it can be pureed or it doesn't have to be pureed. So there's cream and there's creamed, or cream and blended. But a cream soup is one by definition that has either vegetables or meat or fish or poultry or a combination of all of that. And it's thickened with a roux. So a roux is usually a flour and fat mix like we make when we make gravy, and it is used to thicken then with milk and cream. So we get a very thick soup. And it can be pureed or it doesn't have to be pureed, but the defining element is that it's thickened with a roux and it does have milk or cream. Now, lots of folks come to a class like this and have questions because they're vegan or vegetarian. Are either of you that? I don't, Carol, I didn't think you were. You're not? Okay. So the good thing about these cream soups is that you can try lots of different milks with those that are non-dairy milks. So if you're allergic to dairy or you have a problem, oftentimes almond milk, coconut milk, and oat milk are good substitutes. Cashew milk is another one. So it's not just a dairy kind of soup, it can be other things. And then pureed soups, on the other hand, are usually vegetables that are simmered in stock or water and then pureed. And if they are made out of ingredients that aren't particularly starchy, they're not a starchy food like a potato, then we might add a starchy component in order to get that creaminess that we get when we puree the soup. So we can do that by adding potatoes or rice to that and pureeing it. And it may or may not have or use milk or cream. So one of the things that's nice about pureed soups is that you can freeze them as is. And when you get them out of the freezer, you can eat them as is, or if you decide to make them a little richer, you can stir a little cream or a little half and half, even a little bit of butter into those soups to make them even more tasty or more what do I want to say, decadent perhaps. But you can keep them on the low and low carb, low fat track if you want to by not adding any dairy, but they're good either way. Now, one of the things that I did want to mention here is that with cream soups, at least I think this is the case, they look a little blah. So it's kind of nice to experiment with different things that you could put in these soups to make them a little more interesting. So what are the kinds of things that you would think of to put on top of a soup like this? Ideas? Or what do you use now?
Parsley,
Parsley. Yeah, delicious.
chives.
Chives, and this is a cream of carrot soup, so either of those would go very nicely.
say carrots. You know, I love shredded carrots, like on top of things. They're not too crunchy and not too much, but it's almost like a pasta, really.
You're right.
Shredded carrots seem like to me.
Yeah, you're right about that. It is almost that way. It has that kind of slightly, a little bit of chewy texture, but not too.
Yeah, but not, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder how that would be. Just a few shredded carrots on top of that as a garnish. Yeah. So some other things that we can add might be croutons. So I made a soup. I made the broccoli and Gouda cheese soup that we have that's coming up here uses uses croutons. I used rye bread for my croutons. It calls for a different type, but who cares? You can use whatever you like. But the point is, let's jazz it up a little bit. Cilantro is another thing that would go nicely in this soup. This soup, if you wanted, could go nicely with a coconut milk. And so you could add cilantro, keep those kind of Caribbean flavors. So we want that to look pretty too. And the serving often can be done restaurant quality if you stir in and swirl around a little bit of cream and not stir it all the way in, or a little bit of yogurt and not stir it all in, if you're into appearances. So this soup that we're going to make to begin with is the pureed soup with cream. When I say with cream, I'm talking about we're using milk today. We could easily use oat milk, and it's going to give us a good creamy texture no matter what. I'm doing this with regular milk because I'm considering it an everyday soup. So if I was really maybe wanting to take it up a notch for company, or I wanted to splurge, maybe I'd make it with half and half or with a little cream in there. So this will demonstrate a little bit of technique, I suppose, with using the blender here to puree the soup, but then we're going to make it relatively smooth, and we're going to press the solids out of this corn soup so that it is pretty smooth, with the exception of a half a cup of corn kernels that we're going to stir into the soup at the end. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now so that we can do you have a fuller view of what I'm doing now, because I've stopped sharing my screen? Can you see more of me? Okay. So this soup is really easy to make.
Especially if we put it on speaker view, right?
Yes. Yes, if you put it on speaker view, you'll see better. So this soup has very few ingredients, 8 ingredients. It calls for 8 ears of white or yellow corn, shucked. So this is perfect if you're buying corn on the cob in the summertime, and it would be wonderful. But we're not doing that. It's not summer. We're going to make it with frozen corn, frozen sweet corn. And it calls for 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. Now, I have on the stove behind me a large saucepan and these 2 tablespoons of butter. And I'm going to go ahead and put them in the pan and start it melting while I talk a little more about the soup. Okay. So 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter, into which we are going to put a half teaspoon of minced chipotle pepper that comes in adobo sauce. Have you ever used these peppers? So I do want to share my screen real quickly to show you a picture here. You might have seen it when I was flashing away. We'll come right back. They come like this in this can, and they come in a sauce, and they are really potent. When it calls for a half teaspoon, you want to take them seriously. And so the problem is that you never use a whole can of adobo chilies or chilies in adobo sauce. So I take them and separate them after I use what little bit I'm going to use. And I wrap them individually in saran wrap, or I lay them out on a pan and freeze them and then wrap them. And I freeze them. And I've had this same can going for, I don't even want to tell you how long time, at least a year, maybe more. And they freeze fine. And I'm now chopping this up in just the tiniest little bits here on my cutting board. And this is going to go into my butter. It just looks like barely anything. Not much at all. And it may be too much, but we'll see. I'm living large here, taking a walk on the wild side. So we're going to put this in along with a half teaspoon of salt and just a pinch of black pepper. Not quite done yet. So what are you having for dinner tonight?
Brats.
Brats. And how do you serve those? With what
Well,
do you?
It's just me. So they're actually leftovers.
That sounds so good though.
But I like sauerkraut. So
I like sauerkraut too. Have you ever made sauerkraut?
I have not.
Okay. Oh, we should make sauerkraut together one day.
Okay. And someone was mentioning, they were talking about vinegar.
Mhm.
And we started talking about how do you make vinegar? It probably would be a fermentation process, right?
Yes, it definitely is. So you mean making vinegar from scratch. You don't mean making a flavored vinegar. You mean making the vinegar itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you say that because I don't know if you can see on my counter here. Have you ever heard of it? Something called kombucha?
Mm-mm.
It's a fermented tea drink, and you can't see this very well.
Yeah.
And mine needs to be. This isn't a good example. Let me get you a better example. I just drained it the other day. But this is a fermented tea, and it's very much like what you would make a vinegar out, because this is called a SCOBY, but in vinegar terms, it would be called a mother. And it's what ferments the vinegar, or what ferments the tea in this case.
Oh, do you have to keep it alive, kind of?
Yes, you do. And in this case, you feed it sugar.
Like yeast or something?
Sugar.
Okay. But kind of like
that little pancake on top it's called a SCOBY because it stands for symbiotic colony of bacteria and yeast. So it already has yeasts in there. So I'm putting my chilies in there, and then a half teaspoon of salt, or what was a pinch of salt, and a half teaspoon of pepper. And what are you having for dinner tonight, Susan?
Hadn't thought about it. I was gonna have Thai originally, but now I'm on with you.
Oh, well, that's a good reason though were you going to make Thai or were you going to call it in for delivery?
No, I was gonna experiment. I bought rice noodles, chicken, and some sauce. And then I have vegetables already.
That sounds good. So
I don't like to cook, so
you were going to experiment though. Good for you on the Thai food though. That's not always the easiest thing to experiment with.
well, we'll see.
I also have thinly sliced 6 scallions, and I am going to put most of them in there, about 2/3 of them in there. I have stainless steel pots and pans, and I get impatient because it takes a little while. They have a really nice heavy disc on the bottom. It takes them a little while to get going. But then when they get going, sometimes I think, oh, I was a little too impatient. I cranked those up too high, and now I have to do something. So what the instructions say is that I should stir these occasionally now until the onions have softened for about 3 minutes. So we will go back to looking at giving you a preview of the next soup so that we can.
Did you say we're getting these recipes?
You are going to get all of these recipes.
So I don't need to be writing all this.
No, just enjoy yourself, Susan. Just
okay.
talk about food that you like. Look at these pictures. this was one of my most favorite recipes in this.
Cream of mushroom. Mm.
This cream of mushroom. I've tried different cream of mushroom soups and I was underwhelmed. This one is a keeper for me, and I hope it will be for you. And it is not difficult to make at all. So what we're doing, you can see the ingredients. Sorry for all the news nonsense polluting the screen here, but oil and butter combination, and then some onions that you stir in and saute and make translucent, 4 cloves of garlic that you add. So you make all of that very fragrant, and then you add 1.5 pounds of sliced brown mushrooms. Honestly, I had regular button mushrooms. I use those. That's fine too. Any mushroom will do. You can jazz it up by using any number of wild mushrooms that are out there. They would be fun. Shiitakes would be great in here. Oyster mushrooms, anything. You can really, this would be the everyday version, right, with button mushrooms, but you can make this a gourmet mushroom soup. And of course, what tells us it's a gourmet soup is that there's wine in it, right? There's Marsala wine, a 1/2 cup, or you could use any dry white or red wine. I have to stir my chilies. So all you do then is put those mushrooms in and add a couple of teaspoons of thyme. So that's the very good herb here that we're using. That really comes through. Cook them for about 5 minutes till they start to go. You know, they start to get soft, and then pour in the wine and cook it for another 3 minutes. And then let that liquid reduce a lot. You don't want a lot of liquid in there because what you're going to do next is make your roux. And you don't want to throw flour in on top of liquid because what happens? Gets lumpy. Yeah, so we don't want lumpy. We want to really stir that flour in over the mushrooms and blend them in with the mushrooms so that then you can add the stock and it starts to thicken. You bring it to a boil, and once it boils, turn it back a little bit, season it with some salt and pepper, and you can use crumbled bouillon cubes. I like to use those jars of Better Than Bouillon. Do you know what I'm talking about by Better Than Bouillon? Let me get that out. And this is reduced sodium. Now I grabbed the chicken. I have beef in here, beef in as well, but it's organic, and it is reduced sodium, and it has things in like the very first ingredient says roasted chicken. I can guarantee you that the first ingredient in a bouillon cube is not roasted chicken or roasted beef. So I think this is a healthier version. Yes, it does have salt in it. It has 350 milligrams of salt per teaspoon, but you're not using very much of this in your whole pot of soup. So you're going to let that all simmer then. You've got all the flavorings in there. Allow it to simmer for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then reduce your heat to low. And you can stir in cream or half and half at that point and just let it simmer, time to adjust the seasonings, and then put in a little more parsley and thyme, and then you're finished. That's all there is to that. It's relatively healthy, 271 calories, 21 grams of carbohydrates, 7 grams of saturated fat. Not bad at all. It's a good recipe, and it even has the cream or the half and half in it. I don't think they calculated that with milk. So if you took it down to milk, which is what I did, I think I used 50-50 because I wanted it to be an everyday mushroom soup.
And fairly good protein.
A very good protein, yeah. And mushrooms are really good for us. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the share. We did nicely on that, talking about that soup, and we're going back to our recipe here. So now I have softened my onions, and now I'm going to add this corn. Remember, we talked about this being 8 ears of corn. And what did I have to do to find out what that was, you know? So what I said was, Alexa, do you use your Alexa? Do you have an Alexa? Susan,
No.
you have one?
No,
So Alexa's this little
This might
device.
answer your question.
Uh-oh, she's,
Using your voice, you can ask me to play any song or
Alexa,
artist.
stop.
Say,
So you get the idea. She's over here. And I say to her, Alexa, how many cups are in an ear of corn?
according to an Alexa Answers contributor, 1 medium ear of corn equals about 3/4 cup of corn kernels. 2 medium ears of corn equals 1 cup corn kernels.
So what did I do? I took 8. Alexa, what is 3/4 times 8?
0.75 times 8 is 6.
So now I know that I needed 6 cups of corn. You don't even have to do math to cook.
Love it.
There you go. Huh? So I'm going to put that in here. Who's going to get an Alexa now?
I'm wondering if Siri will do that for me.
Yes, Siri will do that.
Okay, there we go.
You're gonna learn to love cooking.
So start using your technology to help you cook.
I might have fun finding some of your ingredients, though, like this better than bouillon.
So where did I get that? I got that at Costco. It's not
Oh, but
hard.
your Costco's are different than ours, though.
No, I don't know. So it could
You have booze in yours, we don't.
well, it depends on the state. We don't have booze in the one that I'm in, state that I'm in.
I can look and see if it's in Canada. We do have some specialty stores, so.
Yeah, Costco was actually, was having one of those trips down the aisles and just saying, oh, there's better than bouillon. And oh, it's low sodium. I think I'll grab that.
Oh,
Hi, Janelle. Thanks for joining us. How are you
Hi,
today?
I can't hear you. I can't hear
Can't
you.
hear me? Michael, can you help Janelle?
I can see you, but I can't hear you.
Okay.
Let me check. I guess she also doesn't have a microphone.
Okay.
Wait, record.
She has a Chromebook.
She has a Chromebook.
She has a microphone.
Okay.
I don't know.
The microphone.
She's one of our volunteers at.
I was going to ask you how you knew that was the case. Okay.
Yeah, there were supposed to be 3 of them on here, and
No. Is Nettie a volunteer? Nettie, are you there?
I know.
Hey,
She's-
Nettie.
Okay, good start. I can't.
I hear you, Janelle. I hear you.
Are you sure your computer?
I hear you. Turn your volume up, maybe.
are you all in Pennsylvania?
There it is.
There, now you
I
can.
got it.
Okay, very good. Now I'm glad you're here, Janelle, and we're just in the middle of making this corn soup. So I was about to tell them that I added 6 cups of corn to my pan that has butter and onions and chipotle pepper. And I'm going to now let that heat up a little bit. I'm going to add 1.5 teaspoons of salt. So we're adding a little more salt. One of those things that really benefits from salt. And if you took my soups from scratch class, you would learn that there's a good,
Deb,
yeah.
I'm here, but I'm having problems. Every time you go to something and show it, I get kicked out. And then I gotta find a way to get back in.
Oh, every time I go to my screen and show you my slides.
Yeah, I get kicked out.
Uh-oh. I'm sorry about that. I don't know what to
Yeah.
say. Maybe Michael, I don't know if Michael can help with that at all or not, but I do have a few more, but let's see if I can. I'm going to finish this soup first. So
Okay,
a chance to see this whole soup and then we'll see what
because I
happens.
could hear you, but I couldn't talk to you or anything.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see if we can figure that out. All right. So I'm adding now milk to this. This recipe calls for 1.5 cups of milk and 1.5 cups of water. And they're just added at the same time. And we're going to bring it to a gentle boil. Looking good. All right.
I wish you could put smell through a
I
computer.
know. Hey, you should have. You were not, Carol, in the class, the Mother's Day Make Ahead class, were you? Were you in? No.
No.
I made a Make Ahead French toast casserole and I baked it. Oh my goodness, it smelled so good. Yes, I wish you could be here and have a smell and a cup of soup or a bowl of soup. So I hate to do this to you, Nettie, but I'm going to have to let this boil. So I need to go back over to the slides. Let's see what happens and see whether
Michael might can help me.
Yeah, maybe he can help. Have you had this problem before?
Yeah,
What
it's
seems
been
to be the
happening
problem?
for about a week now.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you
Yeah. See,
What
I'm
seems to
going
be the
back to my
problem? Sorry.
homepage.
Well, let me see. Nettie, did you say you can see at this point?
No, I can't. I'm back to my homepage.
Okay, so Michael, maybe you can help her in the chat with
Oh,
that.
so she's not able to see the screen?
Yeah, well,
No.
Okay, let me help you in the chat.
Okay, thanks, Michael. All right. So then we have this smoked Gouda and broccoli soup.
Oh my
This
goodness.
is really wonderful. And this is the one that uses the coupon.
That sounds good.
It's really good. And what makes this different is that you're using smoked Gouda cheese. So get a good cheese and use that. And I accidentally bought sliced Gouda cheese the last time, and I bought it at a discount store. I have to say it wasn't all that great, the cheese itself. So get a good cheese. That'll make the difference in the soup. And you're starting with this recipe calls for 1.5 pounds of broccoli crowns or 2 medium. Now, I say go for the 1.5 pounds
Okay, got it.
1.5 pounds of broccoli and use the stems and things. You can cut the really bad at the end coarse part off, but there's no reason for this soup not to use all the parts of the broccoli because you're going to be pureeing it anyway. So you can see this recipe has, again, onion and garlic. That continues to form our base for these soups. We're going to saute that in olive oil. And then we're making that little roux again using a tablespoon of all-purpose flour that we're going to sprinkle over the broccoli, along with some smoked paprika, which just adds to that smoky flavor with the smoked Gouda. And once we get all of that flour combined in there on the broccoli, we're going to, or on the onions and, I'm sorry, not the broccoli, but the onions and the garlic, we put the flour and the paprika. Once that's all blended, then we add the broth and we add the chopped broccoli. Now you are going to keep some of that broccoli, just the little florets, for on top of the soup at the end. So just keep about 1.5 cups of that, really little bite-sized pieces of that, because that's what you'll run into in your soup. So you don't want a big old floret in there. And bring it to a boil, and then bring it back down to a simmer until the broccoli is tender. That'll take about 8 to 10 minutes. And then you can make these croutons. Now this says toss the bread that you have, whatever it is that you want to use. I think here they used rye bread, which is what I used. Toss it with a tablespoon of oil in a skillet and cook them until they're brown and crisp. honestly, what I do, it's just easier. I throw them in a bowl. I put a little oil on them and then salt and pepper maybe. And then I put them in the oven and bake them at 350 until they're nice and crunchy. Just seems easier to me than doing it in the pan and flipping them around and so on. And then what you do with the soup is you can either puree it in a blender, and I have my handy dandy Ninja, which I love. Can't let my milk and I can't let this soup boil over on the stove. I don't want that work. So this is my Ninja, and when I blend a soup in here, it makes quick work of it. But when you're blending a hot soup, make sure that you don't put any more than maybe this much in. Can you see? Like a third of the way or so, because what happens if you do more? Yeah, the steam builds up, and it might create a pressure in there that would blow the top off or blow a part of this cap open like the spout. So the other thing that you can do is use a cloth like this and put it over top too, just to be safe. So this broccoli soup you can blend using the blender like this, or you can use an immersion blender. Does anybody have an immersion blender?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You do? And
Yeah.
what should we know about an immersion blender? You had to tell if you had to give somebody
Start
go ahead.
Start off very slowly.
Yeah, good tip. Absolutely. And also make sure that your blades are down underneath the surface.
Yeah.
If you bring it up, you're going to splatter things everywhere. So if you want to really puree your soup so that there is no other pieces in there, you want a completely blended soup, my choice is always to do the big blender. But if you want to get into your soup and just blend part of it to make your soup creamy without milk, you can do that. So you can just go in and especially if you have something starchy in there like potatoes, just put your blender in there and bzz, 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 a little bit here and there, and you get a creamy soup that still has chunks in it and no milk. So that's an immersion blender. And it also makes a great foamer if you are interested in making a latte and you don't have all that fancy equipment. You heat your milk and then use your immersion blender to foam the milk up. It works really nicely. Have you done that, Janelle? Have you ever tried that? You can unmute yourself.
Kind of. No, I haven't tried that one yet.
I was thinking today I might make a matcha tea latte and foam up that milk and pour it in there. That sounds good to me. So lots of ways to use your immersion blender. So I'm waiting for this soup right now. It's supposed to be about 15 minutes. I didn't really time it. And we are at 6:11. So I'm going to tell Alexa, set the timer for 5 minutes.
5 minutes, starting now.
And I'll check on it again here in 5 minutes. So we puree that soup in the blender. We might have to do more than one batch of it, and then put it back on the stove in the pan over really low heat. And then start to add the shredded smoked Gouda in there. But just do a little bit at a time and stir it constantly so that it really does melt.
Mm-hmm.
And you just cook it and then add the broccoli that you reserved, those little florets, and just cook that until they're bright green. And then you can just season to your taste. If you like a little vinegar, you can put that in. That's not to my liking, but some people like to brighten up a soup with a little dash of vinegar, so you can try it. If I want to experiment, here's what I do. In a big batch of soup, I take a little bit out and put it in a bowl, and I'll add a different kind of spice or herb to it and just test it. Or maybe I'd try the vinegar, see if I like it before I put it in the whole pot of soup. So just something you might think about if you're experimenting. Then you serve this soup hot and put those croutons on top, which are a nice addition to it.
Okay.
I think you might enjoy that broccoli soup. Now, here's what I was talking about, garnish and the way that a soup looks different. Doesn't this look so much more appealing than that bland looking bowl of carrot soup that we saw in the beginning?
Yeah.
So let's look at this carrot ginger soup. I'm going to see if I can move this up a little bit size-wise. Here we go. By now you've got the routine. You heat oil and you saute some onions and some leeks and some celery. And this time we're adding some fresh ginger, which is really good with carrot soup. It makes a very nice flavor. This is why I also suggest that you could use coconut milk in this soup if you wanted to. Even though this doesn't call for any dairy, you could do that. And in this case, it calls for using vegetable broth, preferably homemade, which I'll teach you to make if you come to my soups from scratch class. And 3 tablespoons of orange juice in this mix too. And it uses a full, almost 2 pounds of carrots, a pound and 3/4. And you can cut them in half or quarter them an inch thick. But honestly, I threw them in the threw them in the food processor and did them that way. And that worked out pretty nicely. I wonder if they would puree differently if they were larger though, because I did notice I didn't try that again, but I would the next time. I'll try slicing them. So try them sliced first. And then if you want to experiment, try doing them finer in the food processor. It was certainly quicker, but it took me a little longer to get that really smooth consistency. Really boiling now, so.
Mm-hmm.
My husband's going to love this for supper. He likes this soup. He hasn't had it for a long time. Okay, so we after we saute the mirepoix and the aromatics, we just let them soften for a while, about 8 to 10 minutes it looks like, and then stir in some salt, and then add the carrots and the vegetable stock and the orange juice. Stir that all really well, bring it to a simmer, and then just cook it until the carrots are soft. And it takes 7 to 20 minutes. Wow, that's a difference, right? I don't know, 7 to 20, that's a big span of time there. But wait until the vegetables are tender. This is all, it's a good thing we're cooks that like to taste things along the way and try them, right? And then take the pan off the heat, let the soup cool for a little bit, and then puree it just like we talked about here. And then put it back in the pan, and you can add some yogurt here and a ½ teaspoon of lime juice. Just add some more flavor. So this is just a 1/4 cup of whole yogurt, and preferably Greek yogurt because it's less liquidy. So it adds more thickness to your soup. And then you're ready to go, and you can just garnish it with a little bit of chives or some of those other things that you mentioned. I wasn't very successful. I think you need to have a very thick something or the other to drizzle around the top. You might use a Mexican crema or something like that if you wanted your dairy to stay on top. Alexa, timer off. Okay, well, I need to do what every good cook does now. I need to test my corn because I'm not sure it's been 15 minutes. And not sure if these are tender. That's really good. And I can taste those chipotles in there too. I'm going to give it another minute or two. So what do you think about this carrot recipe? Has anybody ever made cream of carrot before?
I've never.
No.
No, it's pretty tasty. It's very carroty. And especially, I think it would really matter whether your carrots are sweet or not. So if you don't have sweet carrots, then you might need to put a little sugar in this soup to make it taste a little bit better. But good sweet carrots make this delicious.
What's the worst thing about canned cream soups?
Sodium. True of all canned soups.
Okay.
And the other things on the label that you can't recognize.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. They sometimes put things in for flavor in soups, like they put in Asian food, the monosodium glutamate. And
Yeah.
that can cause a lot of issues for some people, headaches and that kind of thing.
So, like I wanted to make some chicken tetrazzini and it calls for a can of mushroom soup. Can I make this soup and then use it in that recipe?
Mushroom soup? Yeah. Yeah.
Just make the mushroom soup, but then use it in the tetrazzini recipe.
Well, does it call for, in the tetrazzini, does it, now those soups are condensed, so you usually add milk or water to them. Does your tetrazzini recipe call for additional liquid?
Yes.
So yes, you could use this, but don't put the additional liquid in.
Okay.
Okay. All right, I think we're going to call this done now, finished. And I'm going to blend it. And for our purposes, I need to get another pot out. I'm just going to put the blended soup back into a new clean pot. Is it warm where you are today?
Mm-mm. No.
Oh, it was very warm here today. It feels like July.
It's winter again here.
Oh my. And where is here again?
Janelle, where is here?
Muskegon, Michigan.
Okay.
Right on Lake Michigan.
Yep.
Wow.
Basically surrounded by water. Cold water.
Big water.
Big water, for sure.
Yeah, the water that looks like an ocean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Picks up
No
way-
salt added though.
What's that?
No,
No
it's
salt.
salt free.
Yeah, salt free. Low sodium water. Yeah.
Yep, yep.
Okay, I'm going to put just a couple more in here, and I think that'll be about do it for our first batch, and then I can run the second batch. So I'm getting my towel here. Hold your ears. That's pretty good. And what we're doing with this is straining it. So we are straining all those corn shells out.
Okay.
I'll bring this over so you can see it then. Blend a second. Guess I didn't need another pot now that I have that bowl.
I love watching other people work.
Yeah, but don't you wish you could have the benefit though?
I know, true,
Downside, right?
right?
Okay. Well, if anybody ever told me I'd end up doing a Rachel Ray thing in my kitchen, I'd look at them for crazy. So
You're doing a good job. It's a lot. You got a lot in there.
that should do it. And I'm going to just bring this bowl forward so you can see what's going on here. Now there's an awful lot in the top here. So here's hoping. I know when I made this before, it worked out beautifully. I need to mash this down. Keep stirring. Can you see this okay?
Mm-hmm. I can see it.
Yeah.
Takes some patience. Is what you're really trying to do is get all the liquid and just leave behind the corn shells. So I'm
We've
just
got a lot of patience, right, Janelle?
got a lot of patience,
Yeah.
especially when somebody else is doing this, right?
No, because we're trying to learn technology.
Oh, yeah. I need a bigger spoon. Yes, yes. You have to have patience for technology, that's for sure. But
Yeah.
you're doing great. Hey, Janelle, you're doing great. You've got your notebook in, everything's going well, right? Have you been taking some of the tech classes with Get Set Up, Janelle? Yeah? So
So
there,
that's a lot of fiber, right?
yes, it is. So you are, but it's corn shells.
Not much nutrition.
No, not a lot. So I think it's okay to,
My mom has pigs. They would love that.
they would love this. Oh my gosh, would they love this? This would be gone in a hurry, right? All right, so I'm gonna call that, I might, if I was doing this, I might let it just sit longer, but I'm gonna let it go. And what am I going to do with the, I didn't think about what I was going to do with the corn after I was done, or the corn shells. Just put them on this plate here. Hate to put all that down. You're right, maybe I should save this for the neighbor's pigs. Anyway, so we're getting close to the end of the class, and we seem to be, oh, I was going to stop my share here. I'm going to send you another corn chowder along with the other recipes that we talked about. And I hope that you will find some of these recipes really to your liking. I think in the interest, I'm going to do this for right now, just so I can show you what the soup looks like. And we can call it a soup, but
It's definitely a soup.
it's definitely creamy. And then we're just going to put corn kernels in. And now we have a really nice creamy soup that we can reheat on the stove. And I don't know if we have any kind of garnish on it. We would garnish with these scallions that we reserved. So that is a wrap on the corn soup. But like I said, I'm going to send you a smoky corn chowder too. So if you like it a little chunkier, this Southwestern corn chowder that I send along is one where you can use your immersion blender to go in there and just whir a little bit of it around and then let it go at that, let it be chunky. So there's a picture of it. That's what the smoky or the Southwestern corn chowder looks like. And that brings us to the conclusion of our class today. So what soup are you going to make out of all this? What are you going to try first?
I'm going with carrot.
You're going to try the carrot. Okay. Love to know, Carol.
Carrot ginger.
Okay. I'm going to put an email address in my chat box here that it would be great if you could check this out. This is my email address to receive anything from you, but I really like the idea of seeing your recipes, whether you make anything from a class, you could take pictures, and have the guide at getsetup.io is the email address. So if you do that, we really want to showcase learner recipes, learner pictures.
Yep.
You know, have fun with taking photographs of your food. That's addictive. Okay, so thanks so much for coming. My next classes are how to make meringue tomorrow. We're talking about that a little bit. That's a whole other chapter that we can delve into further. And
Are you going to demonstrate it like you did tonight?
well, I'm going to, that's a good question. I did not the last time I made some, but maybe I will. The only reason I thought not, because it takes a while for it to set up and there's the grinding noise of the beaters for the whole time.
It wasn't that bad. I mean, listening to that Ninja blender wasn't that bad.
Okay, well, I'll think about that. Maybe I would do that. We'll see.
Oh, it's fun.
Yeah, it would be fun.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, we'll do that. Thank you so much for coming, and don't forget to invite friends and tell everybody about the community. And we'll see you at the next class, okay?
All right.
Susan for coming.
Thank you.
Newbie. Bye-bye. Take care. Nettie, are you doing okay now with everything? Seemed to be that everything's working out okay. All right. Loved having you all here. It was like having you in my kitchen.
Okay.
See you soon.
It's nice being there.
Bye.
So bye, everybody.
Bye, ladies.
Have fun cleaning up.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, let's do this. Copy it.
You can always stay and watch me clean up, or come on over and do the dishes.
Oh, thanks.
No, thanks. Thanks, but no.
Yeah. Okay, let's save this.
All right.
Alrighty.
Take care, ladies. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay.